Shabbat Shalom. So the story goes that there was a very devout, learned, pious, wise, wonderful rabbi that had a craving. All of a sudden, late in life, this man who had kept kashrut so carefully suddenly got into his head that he had to try ham. That he just once had to have it before he passed away from this world. So he got into his car and he drove, because he wasn't going to go to a local restaurant, because God forbid if he goes to a local restaurant and he's sitting down to have his nice piece, somebody from the congregation who knows him would walk through the door or see him through the window, or somehow he would be discovered. And so he drove and he drove and he drove. He drove and he drove and he drove, and he finally found a beautiful, fancy restaurant and decided if he was going to have ham only once, this would be the place that he would go. And he sat down, he ordered roast pig. The waiter went off, some time passed, and just as the platter was being brought out with the beautiful pig and the apple in its mouth laid before him on the table, who walks in? The president of his shul. The rabbi locks eyes with the president locks eyes with the rabbi, and the pig on the table. And the rabbi says to the president, "Can you believe what they serve when you order an apple here? Look at the garnish." Right, the apple was trying to pretend that, you're not buying this, are you? No, he got caught. Right, he got caught, he tried to weasel out of it, he tried to provide something like a cover story. It's When Pigs Fly. It's not a successful thing. But why did he go through the effort then of driving to another town, driving hours to try and hide his transgression? What was the point of all of that? Just go to the local restaurant, roll the dice, take your chances. If you're going to do this, who cares whether you get caught, right? Well, it turns out actually all of us do, right? Most of us are a little bit more on our best behavior when there is a person watching. Right? We generally will behave, whether it be with etiquette or with criminal proceedings, a little bit better if we think there is somebody watching, or if there is a video camera that is pointed in our direction. And with that in mind, we can begin to unravel one of the mysteries of this week's parashah of Ki Tavo. Because in this week's parashah, we get a set of blessings and curses. The blessings are beautiful, and we'll see them in tomorrow's Torah reading, but they're generally the kind of things you would want to be blessed in, right? May your families be blessed, may your goings be blessed, may your fields be blessed. Of course, this is what we would like. But the curses are aimed at specific categories of people. For example, cursed is the one who murders somebody in secret. Really? Does that mean murdering someone publicly is better than murdering somebody in secret? Cursed is somebody who moves the boundary between his property and someone else's. This is really like curse-worthy, and besides, we already knew that we're not allowed to do this. Why this curse language? Cursed be one who sleeps, and there's quite a list of different people that we are not allowed to sleep with. Again, do we need to have this singling out of language for these particular transgression? Cursed is the one who misleads the blind. All right, it's not exactly the nicest thing, but is it on the same category as murder, or of having an affair with someone incestuously in your family? So I pointed the blind person and the wrong person, and I murdered someone else behind the barn. I would not think these would be resolved by the same level of cursing. And yet for each of them, the people are required to say Amen, meaning that they agree, they assent, that should a person do any of these things, indeed the people say from this point, they agree, they should be cursed. But why this list, ask our sages? Why this representative sampling of seemingly unconnected different types of transgressions? Well, because they are all very similar to the rabbi getting in the car and going for a drive. Which is to say, all of these have the element of secrecy to them. The element of secrecy tells us a number of things about the perpetrator and the crime that they are trying to do. One, it's that this crime is likely to go unnoticed and therefore unsolved or unpunished by the community. If I mislead a blind person, what's he going to do? Finger me in a lineup? How is he going to prove that I did anything wrong? If no one else saw me, he can't tell anyone what I look like. I'm completely going to get away with this scot-free. If I am having relations with somebody in my family that I shouldn't be having relations with, if they're willing and I'm willing, who are we going to tell? Right? This is going to remain just between us. It is a secret. We're not exactly inviting people to come watch our indiscretion. So we can get away with it. So too, if I secretly in the middle of the night go out and move my neighbor's boundary, if nobody actually sees me doing it, even if it turns out that someone discovers that it was moved, well, how can they prove that it was moved? Those boundaries are a reminder, but they're ultimately a reminder of where people believe it to be. But if you don't have actual testimony about where it needs to be, well, that marker is the testimony. And if it's been moved, it's your word against the marker. Very hard to prove that I did anything wrong. And obviously, murdering somebody in secret, well, the reason people do murder in secret is precisely so that they won't get caught. But that means that we as a community have to be worried that people will simply put their effort into planning the perfect crime, a crime where they will never be found out. As the adage goes in the modern world, it's not illegal if you don't get caught. That if they can just do it right, they can do what they want and not have to fear punishment. And so, by forcing the entire nation to swear that indeed we are willingly going to accept a curse should any one of us act in this way, we are proclaiming that we as a community may not be able to adjudicate this because indeed there is no evidence, there is no way for us to even know in many of the times that a crime has been committed, but we believe that this person should still be punished. Doing something wrong in secret is still wrong. Doing something wrong without threat of getting caught should not be our jackpot scenario. We should still recognize it is wrong, and doing it is something I must avoid. Because of the second realization. When the rabbi got in the car and drove to have his little ham, when the person murdered a person behind the barn, when two people got together in the bedroom away from prying eyes, when someone mockingly misdirected a blind person, they may have all believed that there were no witnesses, there were no cameras, there was nobody there to find out about their crime, about their indiscretion. But that means that they are solely concerned with the earthly realm. They are solely concerned with what will the neighbors think. They are solely concerned of, is there a cop nearby? Will I get a ticket for this? Will I get arrested for this? And if they can convince themselves that they won't, and that there is no one watching them, then morality is unimportant. And Judaism simply says, no, because there is always God. And you may be able to escape earthly punishment. That is entirely possible. But that does not mean you will escape judgment. That does not mean you will escape the consequences of your deeds. Merely being able to fool humanity for the brief moment that you are getting away with it should not be your measure of success, because ultimately there is no way to get away with any injustice before the true throne of judgment. You can fool some of the people some of the time. You can fool some of the people all the time, and you can fool all the people some of the time, but you can't fool God any of the time. And by reminding ourselves of that, through this list of swearing to the different curses that are being promulgated on these different crimes of secrecy, the people are not just saying, yes, they deserve punishment, which is relatively obvious, but they are also reminding themselves, people will be punished. There will be consequences for these actions. We may not be able to see it, just as we did not see the crime. But we are confident that the judge of the world will judge fairly. And we will not expect ourselves to always be able to be privy to those judgments. Sometimes it'll happen beyond our view, just like the crime. Sometimes it will happen beyond our life. But we are confident this world is founded upon justice and judgment, and that the ruler of the world watches all and judges us all fairly. This is why we proclaim again and again, Baruch Dayan Ha'emet, blessed is the true judge. Shabbat Shalom.